Hey, Fearless fam. My name is Poonie Slays Lupus, and welcome to My Life After the Storm. So, we're going to do this is going to be my first story time, and it is rather long. So, I am going to have to break it up into different episodes, okay? There are some other parties in this story. I will ask if you are from our hometown and you know who I am talking about, please do not bother this person. We're very cordial with one another. What has happened, and I'm a firm believer that God let everything happen for a reason, okay? So, please don't bother that person. Just let them be. Like I said, we have no bad blood between us. It was just life and things just happened. So, yeah. My heart is beating so fast because, as I stated, this is my first video, my first story time. So just bear with me, please, if you do not mind. And if you want to hear the rest of this story, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, okay? And stay tuned. So, as some may know, some may not know, I do have lupus. I was diagnosed with lupus back in July of 2014. Yeah, July of 2014. At the time, I was married, right? So I'm going to tell you all what led up to me ever even being diagnosed again. 2008 to 2011, I was having some real problems, right? And I was having a lot of health problems after August 5th of 2008. However, I had just had a weight loss surgery August 5th of 2008. And I'm going to be very honest. I fought myself as well as my surgeon because certain things that I should have been informed on before taking that leap, I wasn't. So that surgery caused me a lot of complications. I ended up being malnourished. Y'all, it was bad, to the point to where I used to always say, I could have stayed big for this, but hey, that's just a little inside joke. But, so, like I said, I was sick from 2008 to 2011. Like I said, I started experiencing different symptoms of things I didn't even know what it was, didn't even know what was going on. So I started seeing different specialists and different doctors. And at one point, one of my doctors mentioned to me, you may have lupus. Have you ever heard that? I said, no one has ever told me that. I don't even know too much about lupus. I just knew a tidbit, right? Because I had a friend girl who had lupus, and I saw the things that she was going through. And she was the first person I can remember that I had ever even heard lupus from. So, okay. So, in 2011, my symptoms really got worse. Now, January 5th of 2011, I lost someone. I lost my fiance, okay? And I'll tell you all that story at a later time. But I lost my fiance, and it affected me big time. Big time. So I started experiencing really bad migraines, to the point to you guys, sometimes I was taking Excedrin and BC, Excedrin, migraine, and BC, just to try to calm the headaches down. So that July, I ended up relocating from my hometown to Texas. that was my second move to Texas. I do have a sister who lives in Texas. My sister lives in Texas. We had actually moved to Texas together back in 2003, I believe. It was 3 or 4, one of them. And she's been there since. Me, I went, came. But yeah. So that July, I ended up relocating to Texas. And so, I'm there, and keep in mind, I was having some health problems here before I moved away. So I get there, I get in with a new doctor, and, I was able to get all my files transferred. So she was able to start running tests, trying to figure out what was wrong. She had also mentioned that she felt like I could have lupus. And so she was sending me to different doctors because I had started having signs of carpal tunnel, because I've always worked in corporate America at a computer, typing all day. So she did, end up sending me to different specialists. I went to see different specialists during that time, right? So I am there, and anyone who knows me know I love to cook. Oh my God, when I'm in the kitchen cooking, I have not a care in the world, okay? I'm in there whipping it up, right? So this was in 2011. So I'm on Facebook posting different cooking pictures and meal pictures. And so I had noticed where someone from my past was always liking my pictures and commenting. So I'm seeing this person's name on everything I post. So of course it made me go look at his page. I was like, oh, that's who that is. Because I had met him back when I was in junior high. Yeah, back when I was in junior high. He was actually my best friend at the time, cousin. That's how I met him, when we were in junior high. So we have went all these years without seeing each other, communicating, anything and everything, right? So, and I'm going to be very honest, I cannot remember the first inbox he sent me, but we started inboxing each other. So then we ended up exchanging numbers, and we just started talking on the phone every day, all day, right? So the holidays come up, Christmas comes up, and at the time, he had a brother who had a medical condition, and his brother was in the hospital. So we had set up for him to come out to Dallas after the first of the year. So, okay, cool, fine. So we had got it set up. He flew into Dallas. He was only supposed to be in there a couple weeks. Well, let's just say he never came back to Arkansas. Yeah. So he ended up staying there in Texas with me. Of course, by this time we was in a relationship and all of that. So he get out there. Of course, he came. However, he did not have a job here in Arkansas because of things that was going on with his brother at the time. So, of course, he come to Dallas with no job, right? So, I do have to be honest, at that time, I was making darn good money. So, I had been taking care of me and my child all that time by myself. So, I was going to be okay, It was okay for him to be given time to look for a job. Yeah. You still got to get one. Don't get it twisted. So, like I said, relationship goes on. We're together. I'm in love. Whoop de woo, whoop de woo. Of course, he ended up getting a job, of course. He actually ended up getting 2 jobs. So, that was not a problem. And, we're just living living our lives there in Texas. I had started having problems to where I would walk and my legs would just give out on me. It was crazy and weird because that had never ever happened to me, to the point to where one day, because of where we lived in our apartments, you had to go down a flight of stairs to get to our house. And so one day, I ended up falling down the stairs, and I'm talking about concrete. Yeah, your girl was hurt, okay? Then another time, I just ended up passing out outside, and luckily, he worked at a grocery store that was right in the same vicinity, in the same area. And one of our neighbors, knew he worked there because they had seen him there before working. So one of the neighbors went to his job to get him while the other ones, were trying to see what was going on. But when I had passed out, I honestly didn't remember anything. And so, I was able to come around or whatever. And I ended up not going to the hospital or anything. I just did not want to be bothered. And so I ended up not going. So those were just symptoms of things that I was experiencing. It was like things were getting worse, and worse. So, we're there, we're living life, doing what we do. And his mother, let me see, how can I say this? His mother was having some medical issues. And so he come to me one day, he said, "Hey, babe, I'm going to go back home for a little while to help Dad take care of Mom because, he can't take care of Mama and my brother, all by himself. So, I'm just going to go for a few weeks. I'm going to turn in a 2-week notice on my jobs and this, that, and the third." And I'm like, "But hold on, you're married. That's crazy. I don't do long distance anything." You already know that. We had already discussed that. We had did a long distance because by this time we had gotten married. So by this time we're husband and wife. So I'm your wife, you my husband, no, And like I said, I'm gonna be honest and transparent here. I took the piece out of the Bible of the man is supposed to be the head of the house, and hey, as the wife, I'm there as a helpmate, right? So I'm like, well, no, hey, I'll just have to leave my job and I'm going with you. So bottom line, we packed up in a matter of days. And we came to Arkansas the day before Thanksgiving. Yeah, the day before Thanksgiving, we came to Arkansas. So this was 2013. Yeah, November 2013. We came to Arkansas. Everybody thought we were just coming to visit. So we waited to say that, no, we've moved back. And of course, we both came with no jobs. So the money we had is all that we had until we found employment. So, I do have to say I'm always very blessed in that area to where it's never hard for me to find a job. And so, yes, I did end up finding a job. Excuse me. Because what we ended up having to do is we moved in with his parents. So his parents was in a 3-bedroom, and it was 3 of us and 4 of them, but we made it work, right? And so like I said, we ended up moving in with them. I found a job in no time. no time at all. So, you know, I'm working. It wasn't the job that I wanted or my dream job. So, but I'm one of them type of people. I'll work this until I can elevate, right? But I'm still be looking. So that's what I did. I got a job, was working it fine, no problem. Like I said, I was still putting in applications and all of that. And so I ended up putting in an application with a temp agency. And I ended up getting an interview with, like, that company was the company that everybody wanted to work for because they paid really good and it was a good job. It was with a major insurance company. So, you know, yes, got an interview with them. Oh, yes, you're talking about somebody happy. Baby, your girl was excited. Okay. So, I ended up getting an interview. But listen, y'all. Tell me why the day of my interview, you all, I was so sick. I don't think I had ever been that sick. Thought I had the flu. So I was already just feeling horrible, physically, now mentally, because I finally get an interview with a major company and I'm sick. But luckily, they did understand because the interview was on a Friday. I'll never forget this, you all. The interview was on a Friday. The original interview was on a Friday. So they were able to go ahead and reschedule for that Monday. So, okay, cool beans. New interview time is that Monday. But let me just tell you all how sick I was. So that Saturday morning, I jump up and I'm like, oh my God, I am late for my interview. And you know, and I'm trying to hurry up and get my clothes because I had already had my clothes together because my original interview was that Friday. So I'm like, oh my goodness, let me get up. So, you know, my husband at the time, he rolled over. He said, what are you talking about? Where are you going? I said, today's my interview. He was like, baby, today is Saturday. You slept all day yesterday. Because that's just how sick you were. So today is not your interview. Today is Saturday. Please lay back down. So that's why I say when I say your girl was sick, I was sick. So, okay, I had the whole weekend to take medicine, get myself together because I was going to be at that interview Monday morning, baby. Wasn't nothing going to stop me. You hear me? Nothing. So the weekend goes on. And like I said, you know, I'm just taking medicine, trying to get myself together. So get up for my interview Monday, get myself together. Keep in mind, you all, I'm not going to lie, I was still sick. I actually felt worse after the whole weekend of taking all that meds than I did before I ever had started taking any meds. But I was going to the interview. Baby, what they say, nothing can keep me from you. Nothing could have kept me from the interview. And they had gave me a second chance. So yes, I was there. So I get to the interview, and in the midst of the interview, the interviewer, she was like, okay, yeah, you were the young lady I was supposed to have an interview with Friday, but you were sick. I was like, yes, ma'am. She said, you still look sick. I said, I am, but I could not reschedule. And keep in mind, y'all, this was a job with a temp agency. And so, you know, normally with the temp agencies, you have to do like a 90-day probation or however long your probation period is before you are hired on with the company. But let me tell you all something. By the end of the interview, I was hired with the temp agency, bought out of the temp agency's contract. The company bought me out. Do you hear me? The interviewer, she said, this is what you call dedication. You are sick and you still came in, and you know, we need dependable people like you. So I'm going to go ahead and offer you the job. Do you want it? Do I want it? I want it bad, bad, bad. Oh, yes, I want it. So she told me, she said, well, okay, I will contact the recruiter to let them know all of the plans and how we're going to just go ahead and buy you out of the contract because we want you permanently. She said, so be on the lookout, so she gave me the whole rundown. Be on the lookout for a phone call, from a drug test. They're going to do a background check, all of that. And she told me, she said, now in the meantime, you go see your doctor. So you all listen. I was born and raised here. Born and raised. I may not know every street and in every neighborhood, but I'm pretty familiar with around these parts, all right? You all, tell me, why did I get lost? I could not figure out how to get back home. So only thing I could do was call my husband at the time. So I called him and he was like, okay, where are you? So he was like, hey, we need to try to call your doctor, see if you can do a walk-in. So once I kind of figured out where I was, he got me to where I was familiar with the area enough to get home. He was on the other phone contacting my doctor's office to see if they could see me as a walk-in. My doctor's office said, yes, they could. So you all, I get there and they looked at me, they said, oh my, you look horrible. You feel bad, don't you? I said, yes, I'm really sick. So it was some other people in the waiting area, and the receptionist and the nurse went over to talk to them to ask them if they can just give us a moment because the doctor wanted to go ahead and get me back because they didn't know exactly what was wrong with me. So the other patients, they were okay with that. So I went ahead and went back. My doctor did my temperature. My temperature was extremely high. She said, listen, she was talking to my husband at the time. She said, listen, I am going to call over to this hospital. I need you to take her directly to this hospital. They will be waiting on her. He was like, okay. So we get to the hospital. As soon as I walk in, I don't think I was sitting for 5 minutes. And going to this hospital, you're going to sit for hours. But we wasn't even sitting there a good 5 minutes, 10 max. And so, yes, they go ahead and they get me to the back. And they ran a few tests. And that's when they told him, we're going to admit her. So, they went through the whole process of getting me admitted. Like the next day. Yeah, the next day. Hold on, y'all. Let me see. They ended up letting us know that I had H1N1. And so, no, this was that day. I tested positive for H1N1. And so they told my husband at the time, hey, she's going to have to be in a room by herself because, we don't need anyone else getting this. Anyone that comes in to see her, they have to put on that hazmat suit, the whole nine. And so, oh my, y'all, it was crazy. So, of course, he had to call my sister. And like I said, at the time, my sister lived all the way in Texas and we were here. And so since my sister couldn't get to me, she making a phone call. So she got a godmom to come up there. So I was in the hospital for 2 weeks. I was on a machine and everything, you all. The first few days, I don't even remember. That's just how sedated I was. So, like the first week, my daughter couldn't come up. So they brought her up. And you guys, let me tell you something. This is something I'll never forget. my daughter asked my husband at the time, is my mom gonna live? And I think my daughter had to be maybe about 14 or 15. Yeah, somewhere up in there. Because while I was in the hospital, she was with her dad. And all of that. So they finally let her come up and see me. And like, that was the first thing that she wanted to know is, was I gonna live? Because I had a lot of tubes and stuff and all of that. Y'all, that was the most scariest time of my life. So they started sending quite a few different doctors in to see me. One of them being a rheumatologist. Now, he is one of the best, top tier here in our state. So he came in to see me. They did come back and say that my ANA levels were elevated. It was just so much they were telling my husband, at the time. So the doctor did let my husband know that his office will call us for me to get an appointment. So mind you all, this was January. I'm going to tell you how good this doctor was. I couldn't get in to see this doctor until May. Let me see. Yep, until May. Now from January to May, by this time we had ended up moving into our own place. I had been working for this company, but I had started having seizures. Now, I had never had seizures a day in my life, but I had started having seizures. So once again, like I said, we knew something was wrong. We just didn't know what. So the doctor ended up ordering a lot of tests. So I was having to go do tests and all of that before my first appointment with him. So the very last appointment that he gave me, once I came in to see him, he gave me an appointment to go have a scan done of my brain and all of that. Because keep in mind, I was having really, really bad migraines. And I had started having seizures, something that I'd never had before. So, when I had that test done, everything he was sending me to do, I was doing it, trust and believe. So, I'll never forget, this was in July. I had my doctor's appointment, my follow-up appointment to see him. And so, like I said, this doctor, he was so popular, so in such high demand to where you were practically at least being there for 4 to 5 hours before you're seen. Yeah. So make sure you take your breakfast, a snack, your lunch, a snack, and then another snack. Because that's just how long you were going to be there. So we went for my first appointment. And like I said, I'll never forget this day. The doctor came in, greeted us, told us he'll be back. He went out in the hallway and he was talking, but he said my name. And so he just, was just really talking. And it sounded like he was telling someone, everything that was going on with me. And so I guess he was doing his notes or recording his voice notes. So, okay, cool, fine. So, y'all, he comes back in the room, just asking me questions, how I've been feeling and this, that, and the other. And he looked at me, he said, well, I really hate to have to tell you this, but you have lupus, which is an autoimmune disease. There's no cure for it. And yours is very aggressive. So the doctor, he looked at me, looked at my then husband. He said, I'm going to take my coat off. He was meaning his medical coat. He sat in the little rolling chair that they be having in the doctor's offices in the rooms. He said, sir, I'm going to let you know. If you know you don't want to ride this out with her and you're not going to be here for the long haul, leave her now. So I'm looking at him because he had only met us twice. Yeah. Sir, you don't know us. How you gonna tell my husband to leave me? Come on now. So, I was taken aback. And he said, I'm just being honest. If you know you are not going to give her your all, leave her now. Because hers is only going to get worse. He told the doctor, I'm not going anywhere. I'm going to stand right beside her. The doctor even told me, you need to go ahead and file for disability because you're not going to be able to work like this under these conditions. Oh, Oh, my heart beating fast. I'm sorry, y'all. So, hey, my husband assures me he's not going nowhere. He's going to ride this route with me. He's going to fight this battle with me. And yeah. Yep. So, I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. If you want to catch episode 2, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Make sure you turn on your post notifications. Make sure you like the video and share the video. And until next time, I love you.